Hi, this is a foreigner in the Philippines. Well, we just had a very busy day. Been up since about 5, and this is not unusual for us. We just have a lot to do, and Beth and I try to get all those things done. So it usually means quite a lot of travel in the car, slipping and sliding down and back up if we can, up that muddy road. So yeah, it can be a challenge. Now, I'm sure that the people that watch this program, this channel, according to our statistical readout, there are quite a number who are at least over the age of 50. Now, over the age of 50, your muscles, sorry to start talking about this, but in fact your muscles are starting to atrophy. Now, why are they doing this? Well, a lot of it, I feel, is because your thinking changes. Now, how does it change? Well, I think it gets a little bit set, and it slows down because you start to think differently about things. How does that manifest? Well, if you're listening to your body and your body does talk to you, it really does talk to you. It tells you, I'm slacking off now because you're not running upstairs 2 at a time like you used to, so why would I carry the extra muscle? Are you listening to me? And of course you're not, because now you've decided that you'd rather take the elevator. Now that's just one of the things, and I'm sure that you have found that. You're not in such a hurry to go anywhere anymore, like it's not quite so important to catch the very next. So you give it a miss, have another cup of coffee with 2 sugars or 3 sugars, and you wait for the next bus. So the thinking actually changes. Now, as your thinking changes, so yes, this is my friend Golden, and my thinking about cats has certainly changed, and because of that, cats respond differently to me, as you can see by that one. Now, what it all points to is that it starts in the thinking. When you start to listen to other people about how they don't do that at my age, quote unquote. No, I don't do that, not at my age, no. I've given up on that. I no longer try to do that, and it all starts to have a cumulative effect on the way that you do things. And your body responds in a particular way. Now, with women, if you ever try to tell women that they should lift weights, they say, no. I don't want to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger. And you say, well, what about the fitness women? Have a look on YouTube and have a look at some of those fitness women. Well, what they do is they go on, and instead of looking at the fitness women who are in incredible shape, they go and look at the heavy-duty champion weightlifters who have a body that I would die for, and I don't mean the breasts and the rest down south. But you can't explain to a woman who is set in the idea that muscle is ugly, you can't persuade them that this is not going to happen. I've tried to use the analogy with someone who said, no, I don't want to be muscular. I don't want to be like that. I mean, show them something on say, YouTube. Come and look at this, have a look at this. But then they home in, and you happen to be scrolling down, and then they go, there, look at that one. And they'll point out a female Arnold Schwarzenegger. They say, do you understand how long this person has to train every day? how much dedication she has to have to become a champion bodybuilder. And they say, well, I don't want it. Try to say it this way. The chances of you ending up like that champion weightlifter, bodybuilder, are as extremely impossible as you rolling into a car wash in an old 30-year-old clunker of a car and letting it go through the car wash and paying your $1.50 or your $5 or whatever it costs nowadays to put your car through a car wash, and thinking that by putting it through the car wash, when you walk round to the other side, you've paid your money, it's gone in the car wash, it should look like a BMW. It's not going to happen. Now, why should any of us start to lift weights at a later age? Well, there's a very good reason, especially for women. Sorry, I'm not bashing women, I'm just saying this is something that's a fact of life. The reason that your bones start to get lighter is because they are responding to the stress, the good stress that you put on them. And when I say good stress, I mean lifting weights. Now, if they look under a microscope at the bones of a bird, say a robin or a sparrow, the bones are absolutely frail. They're not dense at all, because it doesn't need to be. In fact, it needs to be the other way for them to fly. Now, when you're a woman and you are getting along in age, around the age of 50 or more, well, I stopped for a while there because the rain started, and it started very heavily on my tin roof, and so I quit for a little while. I'm trying to pick up the thread. I will louder my voice, as my wife always tells me. I will louder my voice a little, but we'll see if you can hear me through the rain, which has now continued on, but not quite so heavily. So I think the last thing I said was, if you're 50. And if you're 50 and male or female, the fact is that your muscles start to lessen in bulk. Now what's not usually emphasized is that when people think, well, I don't need to be an athlete, I'm not playing football anymore, I have no interest in jogging, which I never had any interest in jogging anyway. That wasn't my kind of exercise. But people give up pushing themselves, and so the body hears that message as no need to beef up as much because we're not pushing ourselves anymore. Now, when that happens and your muscles start to atrophy, there's a very serious side effect that happens, and that is that the bones start to get less dense, and by less dense I mean they're not as strong anymore. Now this is actually quite serious because you've got a spine that you need to take care of, and you need to be standing up straight, and as you get older you need to remind yourself that you need to stand up straight. Now, how do you remind yourself? Well, you know that old man or that old woman that you keep catching sight of in store windows as you're passing, and it looks a little bit like you look? Well, yes, that's you. That was always a bitter pill for me. I used to think that when group photographs were taken, that the photographer used to sneak in and put in a picture of an old man in there where I was standing. Of course, you gradually get used to how you look and your idea of yourself changes, as it should. But back to the bone density. For women, this seems especially significant. That's why you get osteoporosis in women, is that they are less likely to push themselves. Now, I'm not talking about these fabulous fitness women who keep on pushing themselves well into their 50s because they've learned the benefits of being super fit. I'm talking about the ordinary Joanna, right? The ordinary one who works very hard. For instance, a waitress. Now, a waitress is on her feet for say 4 or 5 hours, carrying heavy dishes. They may not look heavy, but believe me, that's a weight, and it all bears down. Now, what's the difference then between being in the gym and working out with weights and working hard? Now, I'll give you my take on what the difference is. When you are in the gym, if you've got any kind of coaching at all, and often a good coach is the guy or the woman that looks in great shape and will be more than willing to tell you how she did it, how he did it, almost without exception. They'll say, why don't you try this? Why don't you try that? And they'll even show you how to do it. Or you can go to the coach that is part of the gym and part of their service and say, can I just ask you? And that sets you on the right path. But the difference is that when you lift a weight, looking at your hand as if it's the big muscle, and you do the full motion like this, you exercise that muscle to its complete relax, tense place. And that's the difference, is that it's not a halfway movement. When you're at work, looking at the same example, it might be this. And that's not the same result at all. Plus, you're not working in controlled sets. When you're in the gym, you do 3 sets of 10 or 3 sets of 5 or whatever it is, with a controlled weight which you gradually increase so that you gradually put the stress onto the muscle. So it's a gradient way of working in order to strengthen yourself. Mosquitoes. So why don't you do that at work? Well, if I'm working by myself outside, as I did on this house, I've got something to lift, and it has to be lifted 5 feet in the air, and there's no one else around. Am I going to say, oh well, can't lift it, I'll just have another cup of tea? No, I can't. That thing is going up there. It's going in. And usually the cost is borne by my body, either with a strained back or a strained this or a bruise that, or an accident at worst, right? I pay the price. I don't have the same leeway when I go into the gym. So that's just talking about how the muscles react. But it's how you view what you should be doing in order to keep yourself fit that starts all of that. And that's the important thing. How does it start? It's how you think. And that is where you have to catch it. How was the Brooklyn Bridge built? How did the Statue of Liberty start? What about the Golden Gate Bridge? What about a steam engine? What about a Formula One car? What about... All of these things started in thought. Somebody had the idea, why don't I do this? I wonder what would happen if... I mean, when I was a kid at school, we were taught how steam was harnessed into a steam engine. James Watt. James Watt was sitting by the fire watching his kettle boil. And as he watched the kettle boil, the lid was going beep, 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 as the steam pushed the lid up, released the pressure, and the lid dropped back down again. So it's doing like this. And he thought, I could harness that as power. And he invented the cylinder, and he invented a piston, or they were already invented. But he used that power by visualizing it, and it started off with a thought. So if you think that your thoughts don't matter, boy, think again. No pun intended, okay? You think again. So if you're getting to that age, look around. Let's say that you're 50 and looking pretty sharp. Look around at someone who is 60 or 70. There you will find the writing on the wall. If they are out of shape, and if you're in America, 60% of their population is what I always hear is obese. Now, how did they get that way? They got that way in thought. They got that way by thinking, I don't have to do that. They got that way by thinking, I can eat 3 donuts if I jolly well want to, because Mummy is not here to tell me only to take 1. It began in thought. So, look around, Miss 50-year-old who's in good shape, and ask yourself if you are willing to look like that in 10 or 15 years' time. And if you're not, now's the time to change. Now's the time to change what? Change the way you think. And it can't be emphasized enough that it's the way that you think that is the beginning. For some people, it's the beginning of the end. If you're gaining weight and you don't like to look as if you're busting out of your clothes, nor do you like the feeling of a waist that is too big for the measurement of your pants. Now, you've got a choice, and this is where your thinking comes in. You say, am I putting on too much weight? And if the answer comes back, yes, I'd better do something about it, you're on the right track. If, however, the answer comes back, yes, I am. Actually, my pants are just getting too tight. Maybe I should be moving up to a size 32 or a 34. Now, I saw an interesting example of how you can judge this. And my math is not great, so I'll make it easy on myself, okay? Let's say that by having that donut every day with that cup of coffee, let's say that it's a certain number of calories that add up at the end of the month to 1 pound of extra weight. Now, at the end of the year, how many pounds have you put on? Now, humble little me says 12 pounds. It's as simple as that. Every month, as a result of what you've had on credit, your donut, you're going to pay by carrying around another pound of, and I shouldn't say this because I might be phobic, fat. At the end of the second month, you are now carrying another £2 amount of fat. And at the end of the year, it will be 12 pounds. What about the second year? We're talking when you're 50, not when you're 65. We're not talking about 15 years' time. We're talking about the second year. In the second year, at the end of your 12 months of adding another pound, you are carrying a staggering extra 25 pounds. Now obviously people who are calorie counters are going to say, oh no, it's not possible. No. A donut doesn't weigh that much, does it? No, of course not. Anyway, this doesn't apply to you and me. It's only about all of the rest of them. We know that, don't we? You and me are going to look just fine. But you need to start thinking differently. Now I've noticed that I get messages. I get messages I cannot ignore. For instance, when I bend down, as one famous British comedian says, you know that you're getting on in years when if you drop something, you have to think about whether there's anything else you can do while you're down there picking it up. I get various messages. If I'm carrying a pack, say with, I don't know, 20 pounds in it, wouldn't be not much really, would it? In groceries, go out and buy 20 pounds worth of groceries, put it in your backpack and walk out. If I bend down, my back and my legs send me a message. We told you about this last year. We can't keep lifting you up. Am I listening? I haven't been listening as much as I wish I had. And of course, what does this mean? Not quite a pound a week or a month or £12 a year, but enough that over 5 or 10 years I don't want to be looking that extra weight. So I need to change the way I think. Of course you don't need to change the way you think, because you're just perfect as you are. And if anybody else ever mentions to you that you're looking fat, you just come right back at them. Oh, fatophobic are we? And of course they are. You look just fine. This is a foreigner living with his fat in the Philippines. I'll look forward to you seeing us again.